Hey crafty friends, Kim from stampingandperfection.com. I'm here with some products from stamplerations.com. I am doing their Throwback Thursday feature. I'm a guest designer there for the next 3 months. And they gave me a coupon code to share with you, Stamp Girl Kimberly, that will save you 20% on all of your orders between now and the end of March 2021. So for Throwback Thursday, I'm using this gorgeous set of Christmas tags by Carola Reinstrom. And basically, she used this fantastic stenciling technique to create a gorgeous background. Then she stamped her image and sentiment in gold and embossed them. So I thought these were gorgeous. So I wanted to try this out, and I wanted to see what kinds of ways I could change this up. So I have 3 different twists of this that I want to share with you. 3 different ways that you can use those backgrounds. And I'm going to make 6 different cards here. So I'm going to do a little ink blending with some Distress Oxides. Now you can use any dye inks. I'm just using my Distress Oxide. So if you have, Catherine Pooler or Altenew or whatever inks you use, this should work as long as it's a dye ink, a water-based ink. So I used that dome blending foam for that Seedless Preserve color there, and I quite like that. Like that is a fun blending foam. It works really nicely. And this is peeled paint or mowed lawn. It's one of them. And so I'm using different combinations. I'm pulling out combinations that I don't ordinarily do. And I'm trying to pick like springy colors. So greens, yellows, purples, pinks. And I'm blending on Bristol paper. Bristol paper is super smooth paper, and it allows you to get pretty nice blends. Like I don't have any big round spots from the foam here. So it's a beautiful paper to blend on. So I'm just pulling out the stencils that I got. I got 3 stencils. It was so hard to choose. They had so many great stencils. I'm so glad I picked the stencils that I picked, though. I love them. So this is the first time I've used this one, and I'm pretty excited about it. This is called the Bubble Stencil, and I'm not going to lie, this is my favorite. I got 2 slimline stencils. I got the Artsy Swirls and the All Swirls, and I'll show you backgrounds I made with those in just a minute. So for this technique, you're going to spritz that stencil really well with water. And I'm just using my Distress sprayer, and I'm trying not to push down on it too much. I want to make sure all the spots are touching the paper, but I don't want to smush it so that the water comes out from under the stencil. Just leave that sitting for a few seconds, lift it, and dab up the excess water. Isn't this fabulous? This is fabulous, and that stencil is fantastic. So I'm just going to spritz part of that stencil and put it down on the part that didn't get covered. And I don't care if they overlap a little bit or a lot, it doesn't matter. This looks great. So again, just leave it for a few seconds, pull it up. The longer you leave it, the more water it lifts. And the bolder the colors you have, the more dramatic your results. Like this is a lot of drama because that Seedless Preserves is such a bright color. So it's fantastic. So I'm already loving the stencil. So this is one that I created with the All Swirls Slimline stencil. And you can see that compared to the bubbles. And then this is the Artsy Swirl. The green and yellow is the Artsy Swirl. And that was also a slimline stencil. And the blue and the green is the All Swirls. So one thing you can do with these backgrounds, you can die cut them. So I created 2 panels using Victorian Velvet, Seedless Preserves, and Scattered Straw. And one of them I'm going to send through my Big Shot with the Circle All Over cover plate die, and I'm going to create a white one of those as well. The second panel I'm going to use to die cut. I'm going to die cut this word phrase Big Hugs that I got from Stamplerations, and I'm also going to stamp some stuff on it, and then I'm going to fussy cut those things out, essentially creating my own die cuts. So that's one technique. The third technique is that I'm going to mask off a part of the card so that I'm just doing this technique on part of the card, and I have a little white space above it and below it. And of course I'm going to use that bubble stamps, bubble stencil. So I'm using a different color combination this time. This is Victorian Velvet, it's Scattered Straw, and Lucky Clover. So I'm looking like these are lighter, softer colors, the pink and the yellow here. The green is not quite as light as the other two, but it looks softer with these two colors, I think. So again, not too worried about my blend, but the Bristol paper does all the work. So that's why I like to do my blending on this particular paper. And I'm going to go ahead and take the mask off. This is my favorite part of masking. So I have lots of white space on either side of that. Again, spritzing my stencil with lots of water, flipping it over so the wet spot is down against my ink blend, letting it sit for just a few seconds, usually long enough to wipe up the excess water on my mat. And then I'll peel it up and I'll dab off all of the extra water on the card front. And you can see these are softer colors, so it's not quite as dramatic as that first one. But let me show you the cards that I created with all of the panels that I made. So I have 6 different cards to share. So this is the first one. This is Scattered Straw, Victorian Velvet, and Lucky Clover. And I used that Bubbles stencil, my all-time favorite stencil. Like, this really just blew me away. That's how much I loved it. Then I used this Bloomfully Kindness stamp set, and I loved all the sentiments I created. Here's one that says there is power in kindness, and I've used that for many of my cards today, and I get a different sentiment every time. So here I used Dusty Concord, Scattered Straw, and Victorian Velvet on this one. I really like this color combination. And I die cut the big hugs out of the panel. And that second panel I ran through with the circles all over cover plate. Isn't that pretty? And I did a white panel too. You can see it looks so different with the technique and with a plain white piece of cardstock. Like, isn't that fabulous? Like, these cover plates are expensive, but this one was so worth it. This is going to get used all the time in my stash. And you can see that I also fussy cut out the birds and that floral that I stamped and heat embossed in gold. That came from that Bloomfully Kindness stamp set. And the birds, that's the big hugs die cut or die that I got. And then the cover plate. And the dies both came with a nice magnet sheet. The birds came from the Bee's Knees series stamp set called Small Birds. Love the birds. They're very artsy. So the third technique that I did with this was I just stamped directly on those panels. Like the first one, I used this great quote, "Life is the art of drawing without an eraser." The set itself is called Life is Art, and it's from their Say It Big series. And I heat embossed that in black, and that's the first color combination that I used. So this one, I love this one. That's Mermaid Lagoon, and that is Kindness Changes Everything from that Bloomfully Kindness set, and 3 of the birds from the Small Bird set. There's 5 bird images in there. And I used Mermaid Lagoon, Pine Needles, and Cracked Pistachio on that one. Love, love, love. And again, the last card, I used the Choose Kindness and the stamped image. And you can see that's the All Swirls background. And the green and yellow one is the Artsy Swirls. So I have plans to use that for water waves in the future too. Like, I can't wait to do some underwater cards with that. I think that's fantastic. And I think that all 3 of these stencils would be great for some mixed media things that I'm doing in my art journal. I just love them. I'll have all these color combinations on my blog at stampingimperfection.com, and you'll also find them at stamplerations.com on the Throwback Thursday for this month. So those are the cards. And I basically used 3 different stamp sets. I used 2 die cut dies, and I used 3 different stencils with one great technique. I love this technique. It's so much fun. Please give this video a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Click the bell to get notifications every time I upload a video, and I'll put all the links below. Don't forget to use that coupon code. Thanks for watching.